Hello and welcome to another episode of Husker Dive. I'm joined by Chris again today and Hunter Anthony, Nebraska offensive lineman. Hunter, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us. So how has your time in Lincoln been?
It's been pretty awesome. I can't complain. I got here, the winter was kind of crazy. So I got here in like January. So
Mm,
the winter was pretty wild for me. And I was like not in a basement, but in like I guess garden level. Is that what it's called here?
okay.
So that was crazy for me. Crazy cold. So it was very interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure. I like an
Bet.
apartment or
Yeah, so I actually live with Travis Vokalek and Austin Allen and a couple other guys that were there
Mhm.
that when I got there weren't there. So they had a lease that was going like had a couple months on it. So I lived with them for like that winter semester.
Okay.
And yeah, so
Sweet, man. So I bet you got a lot of golf in this summer then living with Travis.
I am not a golfer. They always watched it and went golfing, and I did not partake because that's the one sport that I have not got into at all, which might make a couple people mad or something, but I've just never got into golf.
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not for
I did
everyone.
not.
Yeah,
It's
no.
not for everyone for
I
sure.
I feel that. I mean, I go golfing with Chris. He's way better than me. I suck at golf. It's just too expensive and too much time to get good at.
This is true. This is very true.
All right. So, did you grow up in Oklahoma before you went to Oklahoma State?
I did. So I grew up in Tuttle, Oklahoma, which is to describe like 30 minutes south of Oklahoma City.
Okay.
That's the best way to describe it. It's a relatively small town, which has grown a lot. So growing up, they were like 3A, and then my freshman year of high school, we moved to 4A, which is weird to you guys because you guys are class like A is the highest here, right?
I actually don't. I'm not from Nebraska. I'm just a big Nebraska fan.
Okay.
Yeah,
So like how I've been described here is like people are like, oh yeah, we're A, and A is like their highest level. So in Oklahoma, there's like 8-man and like low, and then it's class C is like normal football, and then like BA, and then it's like 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A,
Mm,
and then 6A is like our highest. So
okay.
that's to describe it a little bit, I guess. But yeah, so we not a huge town, like 5,000.
Okay.
Grew up there since like first grade, and then yeah, I went to Oklahoma State. So
Okay. Sweet. So speaking on Oklahoma State, kind of how many years were you there for?
I was there for 4.
For what
Yeah.
what's your biggest takeaways or lessons learned from your time there?
I had a really enjoyable time. Met a bunch of great people,
Hmm.
feel like I learned a lot, but really I just like you learn a lot playing college football. And so I had I think 3 different offensive coordinators there.
Oh dang.
And so like learn quite a bit. Everyone has their own little thing.
Mhm.
So I think I learned a lot like of football, and I feel like I'm a pretty smart like X and O guy. So I learned a lot of that, and then just I don't know. It's always interesting, like if you move conferences, you play these certain teams, or I grew up watching these certain teams,
Mhm.
and now there's like this whole new group of teams that it's like, yeah, you watch them every once in a while, but you aren't like embedded in it, I guess. And
Yeah.
so like you play those same, Big 12 teams, every year, or you hear about OU, OSU, like the people who are in your state. And now that I'm in somewhere else, like it's very interesting getting to go to play at some really cool places. So
Mhm.
that's another thing is like getting to go to like a lot of cool places. So I've been to a lot, basically all the Big 12 schools. So
Mhm.
traveling, I don't know. You learn a lot, but I would say like my biggest thing is like a lot of X and O stuff that I like took away.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
awesome.
Um, yeah. You got anything, Chris?
Um, so um I don't really know, like, since I'm from the south side of Chicago, so like I have loyalty to Chicago White Sox, right? Because that's just Southside's team. So like growing up outside of Oklahoma City, like who was your team for college? Like, were you an Oklahoma State fan, or were you like a Oklahoma fan? I don't know if that's like a
Yeah.
trivial question there, but
No, that's good. So how it works is like I was pretty close to Norman growing up. So Norman was like 45. Stillwater was like an hour and a half north of where I grew up, and then Tulsa was like 2 hours north. So growing up though, I was born in Chicago, moved around quite a
Oh,
bit, and then we lived in Norman for a little bit, like when I was young, and then we moved to Tuttle when I was in like first grade. And so I never really had a team growing up.
okay.
My dad was a big, actually, like back in the day, Nebraska fan.
Mm,
Um, he always had Nebraska stuff, and then huge Chicago Bears fan. So like growing up, Chicago Bears were my team, and
Go
then
Bears.
yeah, the college, I never really had a team. Whenever since we're in Oklahoma, like everyone was big OU fan and stuff, and
Right.
I like kind of like was here and there. A lot of my family grew up in Texas. Have some A&M, some family went to A&M, but I never really had like a team growing up. And then when recruiting happened, I just had people from my hometown. One of the people who grew up in Tuttle was the O-line coach there, and now he's the offensive coordinator at USC.
mm,
Josh Henson, who recruited me, and I loved him, and that's kind of why I really liked OSU. And they were really family, oriented.
mhm,
And then when I got recruited a little bit by OU, but OU just like, to me, they act like they're better than everyone, and
mm,
like I don't know, I just hated that.
yeah.
So I never really was OU fan. Like, so college, I didn't really have anyone until I was getting recruited, and then I enjoyed the teams recruiting me, or I'd watch them, but always a Chicago Bears fan, NFL.
Okay. Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I get what you're saying too about the Oklahoma State. Like
Yeah,
I grew up in Michigan. And so in Michigan, it's like Michigan State is kind of seen as like the blue or the blue collar school, like where they go
yeah.
down and they get to work. And then the Michigan is kind of seen as like the uppity, prissy kind of school.
That's just saying because Oklahoma State is like a ag school, like
Hmm.
a little bit cheaper, and then OU, they have a really good medical field, and they have, so like animal science, you go to Oklahoma State, working side agriculture, and then OU's like, you got a really good nursing and doctor school and some other stuff. So very similar. And then Tulsa is a private school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
So
know they were private.
yeah, so you only go there if you're rich or if you got recruited to play football.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
You said you moved around a lot. Was your family military?
So my dad actually met my mom in Germany and married her and brought her back.
Mm,
But he sold cars. So like when he got out of the military, he didn't know like what he wanted to do. And he
mhm,
got into selling cars and was really good at it. And so he had a couple buddies and they moved around and sold cars like in different cities. And
mm,
he did training like car sale. He was a like train like managers and stuff. So he kind of bounced around everywhere until like Oklahoma is like pretty central, and there's a bunch of dealerships in Oklahoma, like Oklahoma City and stuff. So like Norman, Oklahoma City, like all over there's car dealerships, and so like he kind of like that's where we kind of settled, I guess.
mm. Okay, cool. I just asked that because my dad was military, so I've moved all over the country too.
Yeah, so not necessarily because he was military. He was military, but he was not like he didn't make a career out of it, I
Hmm.
guess.
It was just yeah, I got you. All right. Kind of bringing it back to Oklahoma State. So I was doing a little bit of research and I saw that you were injured there. Is that correct?
Yes.
For a
Yeah.
couple times. Um, I have a sister who's a college athlete who's had a few injuries, and so I just find it interesting to get like your perspective on like what did that teach you?
Oh, that made me grow up a lot because so my kind of arc was my first year I redshirted. My second year I got to play and probably played more than I should have, I guess.
Hmm.
I just like going to that season, I was like, hey, this is my redshirt freshman year. I'm just gonna be the best backup I can be. Like kind of took it like that.
Hmm.
And so I feel like that helped me like be locked in, I guess. And then I got a shot against Kansas State. And I played at tackle. And then that was the year. So that year was the year Chuba like led the country in rushing. And
Hmm.
so that was pretty awesome. Like getting to play for like the best running back that year,
Hmm.
stat wise, you know.
Right.
And so I started K State. I started at tackle, and we had like 300 plus rushing yards against K State, who's predominantly like a really good like rush defense, like hard-nosed football team. And then got to play that year, quite a bit, switching in and out and getting more play time than I probably should have that year. And then my next year, which was technically like my redshirt sophomore year, with the COVID year, 2020, I broke my foot against Tulsa like right before halftime because I played one play with like my foot broken. And there's actually a video of me like going in the tunnel, and I like remember I was like, dude, like something's like weird. Like it hurt when it happened, but it wasn't like crazy painful. And then Tulsa was beating us, so like we like ran another play quick, and I ran over there. I was like, dude, this is just weird. And like running in the tunnel, I was limping. So I was like, hey, I told the trainers like, man, something's not right in my foot. They x-rayed it, and it was a Jones fracture. So it's like this bone on your foot. Like I just had weird I like pancaked the guy, and I had weird contact on like that bone, my foot, and it just broke. Like kind of crazy thing. Someone landed weird on it. So that happened, and it was crazy because my right guard got hurt like pretty quickly before that, and then I got hurt, and then Spencer got hurt a little bit later, and then we had our young quarterback, Shane Illingsworth, who came in and like was lights out, did really good. And so it was cool to watch, but it teaches you a lot. It was good that I had someone that I kind of rehabbed with. He had a different injury, but it just teaches you a lot because it's like, I was kind of at the top, because I was starting, and then you get hurt, and I was out for most of the season, and then you come back and you got these kids who's been busting their butt all season, and I remember like kids that like weren't an issue at all were like kicking my butt, and I was like, dude, like this is crazy, like I suck, kind of like. So you go through a lot of like ups and downs, but you just gotta like keep your mindset right. And I finally like kind of got back into it. And then there was a point where like they're like, hey, are you ready to play? And I was like, I really like I didn't feel safe like pass setting because like when I put pressure that way, it like felt weird, like, and I didn't trust it. But I was fine like run blocking. And so the last game we played like Baylor, and I played tight end against Baylor. And then we played Miami in the bowl game, and I played tight end again against Miami in the bowl game. So that was the first time I did like tight end. And then so against Miami, I wore 85, which was pretty cool, like to be able to like do that. And so, yeah, I just kind of like fought my way back. And then that off season, like kind of fought back. And then this last year, I just never really got the shot I thought I deserved to play, I guess. And like, I mean, it's a business, and my coach left after my first year. So, that stuff's like a business. They want their kids to play. And we had some young kids that came in and did a good job, but I still like was frustrated, And then that's another hard thing is like, you can either be like, oh, this is bullcrap, like the world's against me. And cause I had that too. Like, I was like, this sucks. Like, I'm done with football. Like everything's bad. But then I was like, well, I can either do that or just like work my butt off. And so I did. And I never really got my chance. I got some good film against, some teams were beaten pretty good this year. And then same thing, I played some tight end like here and there this year, or this last year. And then I was like, well, like this, didn't really work out for me. And then so after the Big 12 game, I talked to Gundy and I was like, hey, like, I want to go, like I didn't really get my shot this year, which it's a business, but I was here for 4 years, and Gundy and everyone was like awesome because the bowl game, was a lot of fun, but I was like, I think for me, I want to go somewhere else, and I'd rather find my home than like playing the bowl game and then be, like one of the recruits that's kind of left out, or they've already maybe offered someone that I was better than because they didn't know or whatever. So they were really good about letting me, they're like, yeah, if you want to do that, go do that. But you've done everything we've asked. And so like the Oklahoma State staff, I can't say enough good stuff about, because you hear a lot of stories of people just leaving, bad terms and stuff. But I talked to them and they were awesome. They're like, hey, go do that. Like, that's fine. And they're like, hey, we want you to stay for the bowl game. Like, you deserved it. You're part of this team.
Oh,
and
that's
so that was
cool.
that was another really big thing. Is so I got in the portal, and then I actually Gundy let me miss a practice to come up to Nebraska for an official visit. and some cool stuff happened, like some stuff fell in place, and I'm glad, like I like finished out the right way, because if I was maybe a
Yeah.
turd or like, didn't, give it all I had, like they would have been like, no, like you can't go to the bowl game or whatever, So
Right.
I was happy with how it ended. Everyone was awesome there, really great staff there. And so yeah, that was another cool thing is it's like December and I'm practicing at Oklahoma State one day, and then we had an off day and then a practice, and I left like right after practice. My mom came up, and I like literally showered, got in the car, and we drove to Nebraska. And we're practicing, it's like 80 degrees, Our practice got done at like 8 o'clock or something. We're in short sleeves. And then we get to like Kansas and it's like a blizzard, and then it's blizzarding up here. I'm like, holy crap, like what am I doing? Like this is
Yeah.
crazy. Because like Oklahoma's weather's like that. Like people here talk about how Nebraska's like bipolar, but it's like that. Like we'll have a snowstorm, it'll be 20 in December, and the next day will be 80. And it's like, what's going on?
Right.
So that was pretty cool too. Like just the total opposites, I guess. A state and a half up. So
Yeah.
some cool stuff happened, but that's kind of like my story, the long way of telling you your short question. Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
No, that you kind of like hit some questions along the way too. Like, you described the transfer process and like how things you departed from Oklahoma State. So like, no, that was really cool.
The transfer thing was crazy too, because I entered in that, and then like I was doing finals, and I was like, well, I want to get in the portal, but I'm not going to make it public, until after finals. Got a lot going on. And I entered in, and like 2 minutes later, people were like texting me like, hey, where'd you got in the portal? I'm like, how do you, I haven't even called my mom, like this is crazy. So it was really weird, because I was like, I really need to, study and finish my final stuff, and then I'll kind of worry about this. But it happened way faster than I thought, which is good. But it's kind of crazy how quickly teams and stuff are on top of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah. I had a great experience. And then I kind of when I visited, I told Nebraska, like, hey, like, I want to commit, but like, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to take anything away from OSU, like we're about to play Notre Dame. I don't want to be a distraction, or anything like that. And so I was like, if it's okay, I'm going to commit like right after our game against Notre Dame, because I didn't want to be that guy. Like Oklahoma State's like, yeah, you can come to the bowl game. I didn't want to, distract our guys or have media like trying to cover me, like making it or anything big. Like I wanted it to be about like our team did something like, that probably like the best team we've ever had, like arguably with the other team that won the Big 12. So I didn't really want to take away from that, because we had a lot of dudes. I love my teammates. Like we did a lot of great things, so
For sure, yeah.
And then same thing, Frost was great. Like Frost was like, yeah, like if we're in their shoes, like we would want the kid to do the same thing. So like both sides were like really good about like, helping me and like keeping both teams' interests in mind. So it was awesome.
Yeah, for sure. That's cool too, because it like comes full circle of like you had your injuries, which you can't control, and then you had the coaches bringing these other players and like kind of, it sounds like, give them a little bit, like not give you a fair shot, which you can't control. And then the other things that you can't control is how coaches are going to respond when you say you want to enter the transfer portal. But like that was a positive response then at the end.
Yeah.
So it kind of came full circle of like things you can't control versus things you can.
Yeah, it was all, yeah. I mean, and then that's the other thing. I mean, it's a business. I'm not going to sit here and be like, like get angry about stuff. Like, stuff happens, and the coaches make. I mean, I can't be like, oh, I should have played because we had a great season this year. I can't. If we did awful or something, like I could sit here and say all kinds of things, but I mean, we did really good. Like I enjoyed it. I met great people, so it was a great experience.
Yeah, cool. For sure.
What? So like, it's inevitable to see like on Twitter, like even on any outlet that covers college football, that like Scott Frost and his coaching staff is like under the microscope right now. Like they're making sure like this is the season to do something, or he's got to get out. So like as someone transferring in and coming in, like what was your perspective on that? And like how has that been like kind of adjusting towards, like a team with really great success to a team that's like has some pieces that are missing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's gotta have some kind of like pressure in a sense, but I just wanted your perspective on that.
Yeah, I feel like there's a ton of pressure, but also like I don't know. That was kind of what Whipple said too. Was like he wanted a challenge. Like there's so many like great pieces here that maybe haven't been there in the past. And then same thing with Frost. Bring it back to that is my brother. So my brother was getting recruited in 2016. He ended up going to play at North Texas, but he got recruited from Scott Frost at UCF. And Frost called him and my brother talked to him or whatever. And I remember like my family having a conversation. My brother was like, yeah, like UCF, they went like 0-16 last year. Like, what the hell? Like, why the hell would I go there?
Right.
And then my brother's in his second year at, North Texas and they go 16-0, and they have a fantastic year. And so like, I talked to my brother, a huge role model to me, like helped me grow up, like everything for me. And so I'm talking to him and I'm like, dude, like, are we going to sit here and doubt this guy again? Like, what he did there. And then hearing some of the things like from when Coach Frost took over Nebraska, that like hearing things like workouts were optional and like all kinds of crazy things and pulling a program from where it was to back, I'm sure is really difficult. And that was another thing is I came here and I'm like, well, they haven't been winning. I wonder like what the issue is. And that was a big thing too, is like, there are so many awesome things that are in place here. And it's like, they're doing everything right from my point of view. Like, it seems like all these things are in place and it's like, man, why aren't they winning? And it just seems like it's not necessarily anyone's fault. It's all these like little things. And that's what football is it's like those tiny little things that win games, And
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people have talked about like how close we were, but I really think that's how it is. It's like we're right there. And last year they went a couple, like the ball goes the other way a couple more times, and it's like, hey, like Frost is kind of turning it around.
Dude, I was at two
like,
of the games. I was at the Michigan and the Michigan State game, and the Michigan State one was like that punt that went the wrong way, and they were trying for a touchdown, and the Michigan one,
when they recruited me, I pulled up the Iowa game, and I'm watching the Iowa game, and I'm watching them just kick the crap out of Iowa, and I'm saying like they're rolling, And then it was I forget what sequence happened, but like I know like they had a botched like
it was a blocked punt.
Botched a snap. There was the blocked punt. There was like a couple like things that were like pretty stupid. And then I was talking to some of the defensive coaches, and they're like, yeah, they only had like a field goal or two, that we really like caused. And seeing stuff like that's crazy, like all the games within 3 points. And I mean, at the end of the day, like we lost those games. Like everyone says like, oh, we're X amount away. Like we lost it. But there's so much in place. Like, and another big thing is, the team coming together. And that was a big thing Oklahoma State did this past year was we're like, hey, we're going to fight your ass off like until it's over, like we don't care what the score is. And so we had a bunch of fighters out there, and I think that's another big thing is like, I obviously can't speak to that here because I haven't really, scrimmage is a lot different than a game, but I feel like, dude, so many people want this so bad, on the team. There's a lot of really good players. And so I'm just really excited for us to get a spot where we can, prove what we got and prove like that we want to fight for it. And so I'm just super excited.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that all the fans can see that too. Like none of us fans know, I mean, unless they played college athletics, nobody knows how hard, like you guys are working your butts off, and it's just hard for people to see that from an outside view. But I think everybody, like once they get even a snapshot of the reality of what you guys are doing, can get a lot of respect and kind of get put in their place of what they're saying and stuff.
I agree. There's a lot of people on Twitter that think they know a lot. and
They don't
so
know nothing. They don't know nothing.
Yeah,
I,
Chris played college football too, so
yeah.
yeah.
Well, even people who play like I have friends who play NII around here, D3, like everyone knows, like even high school, like if you played high school recently, like now, if you played a like state that plays it like, real
Mhm.
competitive, like even like they know like, hey, yeah, like I know what it takes, but it's a lot of these people who haven't played in, 20 years and
Mhm.
are looking back on only the good things that I feel like are, yeah, everyone thinks they're really good. I've seen that a lot. Like, oh, why aren't we running the triple option again like we did back in the day? And like,
Mhm.
I mean, I guess we could, but that's not a lot of kids would come here if we were in the triple
No,
option.
and Georgia
Right.
Tech's coach got fired for that a few years ago for running it so much.
Yeah, but so,
Yeah. Anyway, I got some fun questions to get to too, if that's cool with you guys.
yeah,
All right. So first question, I saw last night that you were at like a cook-off.
this is true.
What'd you make?
So it was a burger competition.
Mm,
And this one was only like football guys.
okay.
And it was actually one of the other alignment, Brent Banks, like
Mhm.
suggested it. I like to do a burger cook-off. And so we had the beef council come, like beef, it's what's for dinner, people come. We had Omaha Steaks come, and then some cheese company that I can't remember. But it was pretty awesome. Like Dave and all the life skills and everyone put it together. And so basically, I'm not sure exactly how many guys did it, but it was like 10 or 11 or so.
Mm.
Guys made burgers and made some crazy stuff. And then like we had judges try them, and we had some pretty cool prizes.
Oh, did you win?
I got third, sadly.
Okay. Hey, third's still
Um,
good.
I'm coming for the belt next year. So yeah.
There
That's
you
what I
go.
like to hear.
Speaking of food, so this is a question we ask everybody. Do you like Chipotle or Qdoba better?
Uh,
There is a right answer.
okay. I agree with you. I'm going to say Cordoba, and I'm going to explain myself because I'm a cheapskate and you get free guac there. And I don't know. I would say if someone else was paying for me, it would be toss up. I don't really care. But if I was going somewhere, I would go to Cordoba because free guac.
Okay.
You know, that is probably the most fair thing I've ever heard.
And
So I'll go with it.
you also get a free burrito, or so if you get the bowl, you get a free burrito if you ask for like a tortilla on the side. So you
Yeah,
get
yeah.
free guac, free tortilla on the side. And Chipotle, they charge you like 50 cents now for the tortilla. And then they also charge you for guac, which is
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yes,
I
that
definitely
is.
think.
I don't know. Chipotle's, have you tried their vinaigrette thing? You have to ask for it. It's like back in the fridge. They have like a little like something vinaigrette, and that might tip the scale though.
Okay. What about agave? Everybody says that agave is good. I've never heard of it until this, but everybody said it's amazing.
I had it and I think it's pretty good, but whenever I go a place like that, I'm like, well, I just spent $9 on this. Like, I'm gonna get as much as I possibly can. And I feel like that's not always the best tasting food.
Okay.
Or it's not always the best mix, when you just get everything that they possibly will give you. So I had it and it was solid, like it was pretty good, but I
Yeah.
don't think chicken was like the greatest. I got
Okay.
the chicken, I didn't get the beef, so I didn't think the chicken was the greatest, but I'll have to try it again.
Okay. Here's another question for you. So like you're on the football field. I just come up with these conversations in my head sometimes when I'm watching a game. Like when I see players smack talking, like what
Yeah.
is the weirdest thing you have ever heard on a football field?
Okay. If you talk to some other guys, I'm a pretty out there guy, pretty crazy guy when I'm in the locker room and stuff. The funniest thing was, which I don't know if this is super appropriate, but we were playing Kansas and we are just beating the crap out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was quite a bit younger, so I was only on field goal. And so like a lot of the young guys go out there for field goal. And one of my buddies, Tyrese, who was number 60 back in the day, the Kansas, they had a couple really big guys. Well, we get out there and one of their D linemen, none of us, we were all freshmen, so none of us had really played. Like we all just did field goal.
Mhm.
And so one of them asked my buddy Tyrese, he's like, "Hey, Six, you still doing that?" And then he's like, naive, like, "Doing what?" And then their whole D line's like, "Sucking dick." And so there's stuff like that happens. We were just destroying Kansas. There's stuff like that happens that is just like, you can't do anything but like respect them for that.
And they were getting killed.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So I guess they just have to have fun somehow.
Right.
That was funny. I didn't do a ton of talking trash. Because I mean, I haven't played a lot in a while. But one of the other things was back whenever I was playing my second year, Tevin Jenkins, who's now on the Bears, we were playing Texas Tech, and they had some pretty good DNs. And Tevin's the type of guy who can like literally destroy people. He has if you want to look it up later, look up Tevin Jenkins taking Texas D lineman into the like out of bounds. Like he literally drove him into like the Gatorade cooler.
Like blindside type of stuff.
Yeah, like literally destroyed him. And if you look up that whole Texas game, Tevin destroyed that kid. And that was Osai or something. He was like their best like edge rusher, Texas. And he got drafted that year too. But I think that kind of killed his stock when Tevin just destroyed him. But we're playing Texas Tech, and I was playing guard. I was right guard. He was left tackle. And their DN was like, "Man, like I thought you were supposed to be good, like talking trash, like you're not even that good," to Tevin. And he said, "All right, watch this." And he takes the kid, drives him, and like throws him, and he like hits the ground and like slides on the turf like 6 yards. And it happened like right in front of me. I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And then Tevin goes over and stands over him. He's like, "All right, are you done being like, are you done?" Basically, like he said,
Right.
but he's like, "Oh, are you done?" And the guy's like, "Okay, yeah." And then the rest of the game, Tevin like, just did what he needed to do.
Just bullied him.
Yeah, just like, but he's like, "Hey man, like this is what I could do to you, but just take it easy," kind of. And like Tev could literally do that to people, and then they just shut down and like be done.
Wow.
And Tev's like probably one of the craziest like athletic dudes that I've ever played with.
Right.
Because he can just like that, like turn it on. Like we'll be at practice and he's like, "Man, my back hurts," whatever. And then like we'll do, goal line stuff. And he's like, "Okay, well, we need to score or whatever." And he'll just like destroy 2 or 3 people. So that, like just seeing someone do that to like someone talking trash is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I didn't do a ton of talking trash, but when we played TCU this year, we were beating them pretty bad. And we had a lot of rushing yards on them. And at one point we were about to score, and I like drove one of our D linemen like halfway into the end zone. And he ended up like taking off my helmet and like throwing it, and he got a personal foul. And I just remember him, he was pretty pissed because we're beating him pretty bad. And so like the second string guys came in, so I went in and I was like, "Hey, this is like, my time to like, get some film or whatever, So we're just going as hard as we could, against these guys who were like over it at that point. And I just remember them like just being so mad because we just came in there and like we're throttling them, and we ran it. We were trying to run the clock out, but we came in like the third quarter, and I think we scored like 3 or 4 more times with our second team because they were just over it, and we were excited to like get in there and get some
Yeah.
action.
Oh yeah.
For sure. All right, we got a couple minutes left. Chris, you got any more questions? If not, I got like the usual last 2.
I'm gonna ask one more question and then we'll get to those last 2. At Nebraska, what has been like your most like memorable locker room moment? Like, with the new guys, like, has there been anything like, prank on a coach or like, prank on another teammate? Just like, what has been something that like sticks out, if there has been any?
Dang. I don't know. I don't think there's been anything like that super sticks out, but just like, I don't know. I've just really enjoyed the guys. A big thing recently has been splatter balls. The splatter ball guns. You heard of those?
Oh, I've seen them on TikTok.
Yeah. So a couple of the guys have got those. Something pretty funny was Frost runs in front of the stadium and stuff sometimes. So one of the other linemen did like a drive-by on Coach Frost. And Frost took it well, but I would say that's pretty hard to beat. Like,
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
yeah. Dang, what else? I can't think of anything that was like been crazy funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty hilarious.
That's good.
I
That's
feel
good.
like
A drive-by on the head coach with a splatter gun is pretty good.
I feel like I'm usually the guy like making the jokes and cracking stuff. So I'm sure everyone has 2 or 3 things to say about me, but I probably don't remember it.
Hey, we'll have to get him on here and ask him.
Yeah. Make sure you ask him the funniest thing that I did.
All right, we'll do that. All right, we got like a minute and a half left. So just 2 quick questions. We asked this to everybody. Life advice, and then anything you want to say to Nebraska fans.
Life advice would be just to like have fun while you're young. I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't have anything that's great. Save money and invest would be probably my thing for
Mhm.
young kids. And then something to say, Nebraska fans, I just appreciate like, I don't know, like every time I'm out to eat, every time I'm doing something, there's always someone there like that's always like excited or, you know, happy to see a Nebraska guy. So I will say like these fans are crazy. Like I've never seen anything like it because, you know, even at Oklahoma State, we had OU people there or whatever. So it's been awesome to see like all the support and just like everyone cares about it. Even if people like, oh yeah, I don't watch football. I don't really watch football, but I always like root for the Huskers, like everything. So like just really appreciate the fans. And thank you guys for always, you know, being there no matter what kind of happens. So just really appreciate the fans and all their support.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll keep that support up this year. You guys are gonna have a great year. We all got your backs, and we're proud of you guys no matter what, because we know like what kind of work you guys are putting in. So appreciate you coming on, man. Thanks for taking some time out of your day, and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You too. See you later.